Well, thank you. Thank you, Trent. I'm so glad that you could join us today. But for anybody joining who doesn't already know what this is all about, so just hello and welcome to Beyond the Credits, real unfiltered conversations about navigating TV careers as people of colour. So if we've never met, I'm Tamar Wilkinson, and I coach and I support people of colour in the TV industry and also leaders doing purpose-led work. I help them to grow their careers with confidence, clarity, and impact. So a bit about why. So as a coach, I hear all the stories that I can never tell. And I do believe that as people, we're meant to journey through this life together. That's the why behind Beyond the Credits. That's what this is all about. And so today's conversation is going to be a powerful conversation. I'm joined by the much loved and highly respected Trent Williams-Jones. He's a top executive producer in the industry. And I'm so glad that he could join, that he said yes. I'm glad you said yes to this today, Trent.
I more said, wow, thanks. That was kind of the nod. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited to be talking to you.
Thank you. So Trent, I know you've worked on some really high profile shows like Big Narstie Show, the Rap Game. So I'm going to ask you in a minute to say a bit more about who you are and what you do. But the reason I wanted you specifically to come on is because I know, so Trent and I work together. So Trent and I met on Breakthrough Leaders, a program designed to support people in the industry who are of colour. And I was Trent's coach. And I know a bit about Trent's story, but I know that he's got more to say about what it takes to move through the industry as not just a freelancer and the pressures that comes with, especially when you're trying to be booked and busy, but as a black male as well. So I know you're gonna drop some gems on that as well. But if you're joining us live today and you've got any questions, anything you've got any thoughts, any questions for me or Trent, then please drop them in the chat. And if we get a chance at the end, we'll pick a few up. Ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. So, Trent, why don't we start? If you could tell the people who you are and what you're known for, please.
Right. So my name is Trent Williams-Jones. I'm an exec producer. Known for, that's a good one. I think I can tell you what I'd like to be known for, which is someone who produces cultural TV, TV that's rooted in the culture and is youth skewed. And I think that's what I'm known for. I'd like to think so. And yeah, I've just worked on a load of shows that I really care about. Not always. There's been shows, when I first started off that maybe I wasn't entirely into or as passionate about. But now I'd like to say that I make passionate TV, things I'm passionate about. And I know it's very cliche, but I try to make television that can make a bit of a difference and feels different to what we've seen in the last 50, 60 years on television. So, yeah.
Thank you, Trent. And I know that you are more than making a splash. I know at least some of the impact that you've been having in the industry. I know your name precedes you.
Thank you. That's good. Hopefully, only good thing. I imagine that. But yeah, no, I'm really happy and proud of what I've done so far, and really looking forward to what is in the future and what else I could do.
So can you tell us a bit about your background? So where are you coming from? Where do we start?
Yeah, so basically I start in East London. That's where I was born and raised. My whole family's from East London. Very traditional EastEnders, I guess. And I probably am the only person that's in my whole family to this date that's wanted to do a creative job like this. So I started off as just a humble EastEnder, and I managed to find my passion in school for media when I was in media studies, and then from then I've gone on to university. I went to Westminster University in London, and I studied broadcast television there for 3 years, and then realized that none of it really mattered, because then you have to get into the TV industry, and you need someone that's going to let you through the door, that knows you, that can vouch for you, to give you that first job. And that's kind of where it all sort of started to become real to me. Trying to do this, I guess it started off as a dream. I'd love to do something on television, and I'm very lucky to have known I've always wanted to do that from a young age. But then the reality of it hit very early when I'd done all my studying, and then have to find a way to get into the industry. So yeah, that's how it started for me.
Yeah, so it sounds like there was definitely some surprises. It wasn't the path didn't quite pan out the way you expected.
No, definitely not. I mean, I graduated from university. I made some really good friends, met some really great people that I'm still friends with now. Um, and then kind of, I had, luckily enough for me, the university, there were some opportunities that came up, and I graduated around the Olympics in London. So there was a loads of exciting things going on, but it was a battle for every job, and I
Yeah.
was basically in conversations to get involved with some of the broadcast stuff in the Olympics, and I was in
Oh,
training for doing that. And then but my football manager. So I'm a keen footballer. I played football most of my life, and my football
I didn't know that.
manager, it was, yeah, yeah, that's something I've always loved. Like I won't tell you the team I support because I'm not doing very well right now. So, but uh, yeah, I was really keen footballer, and I kind of met my father figure in football. It was a guy called John. He was amazing. He taught me loads of stuff at a young age, just about life and being a man and stuff that wasn't really getting because I grew up with my mum and only my mum, and then my stepdad later on. But John was like really important to me, and he actually was the person that found this link in the industry for me. He was involved in doing a lot of football analysis for shows. It just happened by chance that he ended up doing some analysis for a football-based show. And when he was there in the edit suite, basically giving his input, he met someone who worked at Endemol. It was Endemol at the time. Endemol's talent department called Nairi Clark, who I owe a lot to as well. She's amazing, and basically got me an email address. And in the time that I finished at university, to the time I actually finally got my first job in television, I was working at a bank in Credit Suisse Bank, but I wasn't working as anything to do with banking. I was just working in the shops and the restaurant. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but it wasn't my passion. And I basically messaged Nairi probably every month saying I'm available. I'd love to love to meet her. And she met me. And then it was still a good few months after that. It could have been maybe 5 or 6 months until I actually got anything concrete. I got invited in to talk to the facilities department at Endemol. So it still wasn't really a television job. It was facilities in a television company. But
Yeah,
also, like, I'm very, very happy. That was an amazing opportunity because that job, when I got it, it allowed me to meet loads of people in the TV industry and really understand each department and what everybody does, and have really honest and real conversations with people. So I ended up working facilities at Endemol for a year. I met a load of amazing people. And after a year, I had a few people asking me to get involved and work with them on their TV shows. And yeah, I started working. I picked the role of runner on 10 o'clock live, which was a show that Tepatron was making at Endemol. It was a really, really complicated and big show because there was 4 presenters. It was live. It was the sort of show that you need to really throw yourself into. And yeah, that's what I done. I thought that sounds the hardest. If you start with the hardest role, then nothing's really gonna test you after that. And I
that's a good
took that job as a
That's
runner.
sorry. I think that's a really good
Yeah,
motto for life. You start hard,
100%.
and then how hard can it be after that?
Yeah,
Can I?
100%. Like I've always felt that.
Sorry, Trent, you go.
Yeah, I always believe that like you throw yourself in the deep end, and you should prepare for anything that comes your way.
I hear you. I really hear you. You've said a lot there, Trent, and could we go back a couple steps because I want to, if it's all right with you, could we unpack a little bit about? You said that you met a father figure because you grew up with your mom who was a single parent, and he ended up opening the door for you to get into the industry through connections. So I'm curious to know, how did those early days, like whether it was your mom being a single parent or this father figure that you met, how has that shaped you as a male, as a black male, doing what you're doing?
Yeah, in loads of different ways, and I think actually we always concentrate on the negative side of stuff when you're growing up with a single parent. I was lucky enough to have my stepdad that came into my life when I was about 12. Um, but I guess I saw my mum work really hard all the time. And when I was a kid, I didn't really understand why she wasn't at certain things. Like maybe she'll miss my school play. Maybe I'd get home enough to kind of fend for myself, make my own food, get home. I used to get a bus. I used to go from the first stop of the bus to the last stop of the bus, which is about an hour and a half,
On
through
your
all
days,
different parts of East London. Yeah. So that was how I got home every day. So I guess all of that stuff taught me to be really independent and kind of do stuff for myself and not wait or rely on anybody, which I definitely feel like I've taken into work and how I basically manage my life. So I learned a lot from being in that situation, basically, and having to just kind of do stuff on my own.
I really hear that, and I'm really glad that you said you really touched on the strengths, because we know like single parents get a bad rap. There's so much of that narrative, especially around being from the Black community. We hear that all the time. So I'm really glad that you just touched on the strengths and what that gave you, how that shaped you in a positive way.
Yeah, definitely, because I think you're 100% right. Like we always look at the negatives, and another kind of, and I won't be giving mottos the whole time we have this conversation, but one thing I definitely kind of think about in life is that everything is on a spectrum. And actually, the way of the world doesn't work with just one thing of anything. So, if it's cold, you could be hot. If it's light, it could be dark. There's never one thing. So, with that in mind, I kind of think there are negatives from being in that situation, but there are also positives. And, I definitely try to just embrace the positives of that situation. And lucky enough for me, and I can't say this for everybody else because everybody's kind of grows differently, but I'm in a stage in my life where I'm very much kind of, I understand what the negatives and how they've affected me as a person, and that's also now become a positive in a sense that I kind of understand why I'm how I am, and I have certain triggers and certain things that might make me upset, and I understand those things and kind of embrace them because I always say to people that I wouldn't change anything. Any way I was brought up in my life, I wouldn't change one thing because I'm really happy with the point I'm at right now, and any little change can change that direction. So if I was unhappy, I'm pretty sure I'd have a different opinion. Because I'm really happy with what I'm doing, the people that I have in my life, and what I'm doing work-wise, and in general, they're all positives to me in the end.
You're such a breath of fresh air. Yeah, I remember when we met, and I was really struck by how much work you'd already done. I remember me and you talking. I think you're happy with me to share this, but I remember me and you were talking, and you said, I know my triggers. I've learned a lot about myself, and I remember thinking, this is really good to see, especially as a male who's willing to go there, like to understand yourself, to understand your inner workings, emotions, all that kind of thing. And you always just seemed so willing and open to go there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I would basically attribute that to not being, I've never felt like a stereotypical male in that sense. Like I've always been, I've grown up with loads of brothers, with loads of cousins, and I've always been the kind of an emotional one, the one that will lose his temper, but the one that also get angry and cry about things. I was always the one that was a bit more emotional, and I wasn't really, I would watch EastEnders sometimes instead of wanting to play football. And I always remember my uncle telling me, like, why are you watching EastEnders for? You're like 12 years old. Like, why are you watching this? Go outside, play. But that's what I wanted to do. And I feel like I've always been very headstrong. Exactly. And my mum always, I've always been very headstrong with what I want to do. And so I don't think I was ever really a stereotypical man in that sense. But even so, like, I've gone through my journey. There's loads of things that have happened in my life that have taken me to places, that when I don't feel as excited, like as happy as I do now. And I've learned from those things. And that's why I think now I'm in a much better place to reflect on things. I don't always get it right, but I'd always try to deal with things in the way that I think is right to me, and you can live happy with what you've done, really.
Yeah, I think that's a word to the wise. I knew you'd have some gems. That's why I wanted you to come on, Trent. I knew it. You said
I feel like they're gems. I feel like, yeah. I just feel like they're just they're not gems. They're just kind of like, it's almost like an achievement board in when like you've done Couch to 5K and each week you achieve that little badge. I feel like there's little things I've done that's happened to me in the 36 years I've been alive that have given me those little things when I've lived this. I know what happens here. I know how it affects me. I know how it makes me act and react. So I think I just kind of know how I deal with it. This doesn't apply to everybody. It's just kind of how it is for me.
I hear you. And also, respectfully, of course, not everybody does this. And this is the thing. So not everybody does do that. Not everybody has that level of awareness that you do. So I love that you're making it about yourself. I love that you are so humble. You are humble. And I still believe, no, seriously. And I still believe, and I know from speaking to you and even just what you've shared today, that I hear that self-awareness piece and just being willing to look at yourself and understand those triggers. because it's powerful, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think one of my biggest strengths is that I can do that. And like, that doesn't mean that in every situation I, lay down and accept. It means that I look at something from all angles and I can say I'm willing to accept this for what this is, even if it brings bad or good outcomes. Then at least I just think if you do that, then you can kind of live the life that's right to you, and you can be happy with your decisions. Like I said, everyone's decisions are different, so you're never going to be wrong or right, but it's whatever's right to you.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. You mentioned not too long ago in the conversation you touched on some of the challenges that you've experienced on your journey so far. Could you share? So, what have been some of the key challenges that you've had to, or that you've faced, and what have you drawn on to overcome them?
I guess a lot of them, all of us experience, especially in the Black community. So, not to be cliched or feel like that they make me any special, they make me special than what I'm saying, but like just being a Black man in this society in itself, having that experience as a kid, of knowing very early that you're going to be judged on that, especially being a bigger Black man. I've always been the biggest in my class, the biggest out of my friends. So of course, when we went to go to a club now, I was the person that was told couldn't go in, and things like that. Typical cliches that we all face. Not to kind of like downplay them, but I don't want to make them. I don't want to act like they are. I hate when we kind of make them feel unique. They're not unique. We all experience these things, and we all have different ways of kind of dealing with them. I think that all those things of being being a Black man, a bigger Black man, growing up with just a single parent and not having a father figure in my life, definitely are some of the biggest challenges that I've experienced and have shaped me to be who I am today. And then I think there's a load of challenges and stuff that have happened recently as I've got into my career, and I think one that I'm really noticing now that I'm hitting kind of when I've got past 30 and now 35, you start to become, this is really the time for me anyway. I know people have children young and people have bigger experiences young. And, I feel like I've been quite independent, but after 35, you really become an adult because adult things start to happen to you. You start to lose people around you. You start to lose your loved one. You start to struggle, feel responsibility, get married maybe or have kids. I know people have them younger, but when it really around this age, it's almost like it's not an exciting experience anymore. It's something that you've been given all the sort of tools to deal with, and now it's about trying to deal with it. And I think at this age now, I'm really starting to get tested with all the years of experience that I've learned. So I think I'm going through my biggest challenges now, really. And so far, so good, I guess. I feel like I'm dealing with the things in the best way that I feel possible to me. So.
No, good for you, Trent. I love your candidness and your openness there. And I do know that you've got a lot to draw on in terms of strengths. One of the things that I know you were working on some time ago, it was around, so this concept of being booked and busy, because obviously working as a freelancer for as long as you have, there is, especially the way things are in the industry right now, there's an immense amount of pressure to be booked, to stay visible, to know when the next coming in. And also in an environment, in an industry that the norm is that you are always on, right? I know that you've got a story to tell there as well around well-being, around the burnout. Are you happy to share a bit about your journey there? Because I know that was a big turning point for you.
Yeah, of course.
What happened?
Well, I guess I'll just quickly briefly explain the kind of beginning. So I was working in industry like everybody else on different shows, trying to, as a runner, and then going up that ladder, basically. Just literally like a lot of us right now, just trying to find the next job. And as I got to producer level, I really felt like I'd done a lot of things at this point and things that I was proud of. I ended up working, and I'm happy to say, I ended up working for the BBC on Children in Need. And it was a really amazing experience. I met some really good people, and I made some stuff I'm really proud of. I was involved in making the big charity single just after we came out of COVID. I think it was just during COVID. So, I was getting emails from Cher, emails from Nile Rodgers of the bits that they'd filmed. And it was a really cool experience, but also filming stuff on the ground here in the UK. So the job was amazing. But I kept trying to suggest new people, new talent from a diverse background, talent that people hadn't seen before. Because no offense to like the Michael McIntyres and the Jack Whitehills of this world, I just wanted to see something a bit fresher on a big show like Children in Need. And a lot of the suggestions weren't taken up, and I'm sure there's many reasons for that, but I got really frustrated by that. And I said to myself after that, I'm not working on a show that I can't basically celebrate and kind of support and empower my culture and kind of like my class where I'm from. I wanted to be more reflected. So I made that pact. I said, I'm not working for anything again, which actually, when I look back at it, I'm like 24 to 5 years old. It's an absolute crazy thing to say because it's not realistic. Of course, if the right job came along that wasn't like that, I would have took it because I would need to live. But I was lucky enough, the next job that I got interviewed for, which was on New Year's Day, which is a really weird day to interview, was for the rap game. And that was the next job that came along. And it was kind of like
Trent,
all my Christmases came at once.
Can I interrupt you? Because you said something really pertinent, and I'm curious to know, because people watching this might be wondering. You were quite young at this point, and you on a big show like Children in Need, and something in you was like, no, this is not going to work for me. It sounded like something about was it your values? I'm wondering what was it that enabled you to be so strong in setting out those boundaries for yourself?
It was the headstrongness. I'm a very principled person, and I always try to live by the principles that mean a lot to me. And that's why I don't want it to feel like a negative to the BBC or the children in need. It was very much a personal thing where I just felt like this isn't, and I'm sure we all have this, but this isn't what I want to make. I want to make something where I can actually include, look at this show, and it could be something that I would have watched and been proud to see certain people and characters on there doing. So it was my headstrongness and my principles sometimes get me in trouble, and sometimes they make me make good decisions. And I've always been one of the people that are like, sorry, this is how I live my life, and I don't think there's any problem holding you to that high sort of level. So I think that's where it got started, basically. That's what helped that decision. But then I ended up working on a rap game, and basically since then I've done the rap game, Big Narstie Show. I made a documentary with my very good friend Munya Chawawa called Race Around Britain, which was a YouTube documentary that got nominated for a BAFTA. So that's like one of the most amazing things I've done.
Yes, congrats.
Thank you. And developed some really cool ideas. And I've been in the rap game for a very long time now. We've just exec produced the last series, which I'm really proud of. If anyone's watched it, I think it's probably the best one yet. But it all came from that one big decision. That was a very big, massive turning point, big turning point in my life and when it came to my career. And I've been lucky, I think, because I've had that very focused tunnel vision. I've landed amongst those sort of jobs. Definitely that was a big moment for me.
Yeah, that sounds like it was a big moment, and look what's come since then. That's incredible. That's so inspiring, Trent. And I heard what you said earlier on, as in this is your journey, and everybody's got to know what's right for them, right? But I'm really what really stands out to me is that yes, you were headstrong, but you were also able to stand firm on those principles in an industry where that's not always easy to do. That's not always easy to do.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, for real, definitely. And look now, exec producing.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Like I always say to people when I have this conversation that when I started off doing this, I just wanted to make television. I just wanted to be in a position where I got to creatively influence a show, so producer level. And I think when I was at the BAFTAs with the people that made the show, some amazing people, I realized at that point when I was sitting at that, and there was all these amazing people around me, left, right, center. I mean, Olivia Colman's over there, Stephen Graham's over here, people that I would only ever dream of being in the room with. I just thought to myself, oh my God, this is beyond my dreams. It's beyond what I ever thought I could do. So now I was actually in a really weird place, and I was like, what's my next sort of aim? I didn't expect to be here. So now I need to think of a new thing to aim for and a new thing to kind of concentrate on doing. And that was something I had to think about.
That's a good place to be. Sounds like a great place to be.
Definitely. And now I think my aim is just to keep making shows that reflect people that look like me and are from where I've come from. It's not just about the race and cultural side, it's also the class side. The class side's a massive part for me, especially in this industry. You know, no one was blazing enough to say to my face anything about my culture, but they definitely would blatantly say, like, take the mick out of my Cockney accent, you know, and things like that. Like, so I'm really like keen to encourage those people to come in and make shows that reflect those sort of people from my background, basically.
I feel that so much. We've talked a bit about this as well. Where you come from, like, you know, your why, because I can hear your why so clear, and I can see the link between where you come from, your upbringing from East London and repping East London so proudly, to the decisions that you're making now, like your creative choices. You can really hear that why, and that's so powerful, and it inspires people, doesn't it? It brings people on board.
I think so, yeah, I think so, because everyone should be proud of what made them who they are. And like I said, I go back to one of the first points I made, like, if you're happy with who you are right now, then you should be proud of the journey you've been on, all the ups and downs, and where you're from and what kind of made you who you are. So, yeah.
I hear you. It's so refreshing to hear this. It's so, in an industry and in a space where I don't hear much of this, you know, in the industry, the work that I do as a coach, I don't hear much of this. And I hear so many stories. I'm not able to share the stories. So I'm so glad that you're able to come on today and just speak so openly and honestly about yours. It's powerful.
Thank you. No, that comes, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, you go. I'm excited here. No, you go.
No, it's just more that I do think that's massively down to talking to you though as well, because I'm not always this open. So I think it's when you see other people around you that are willing to hear people's stories, understand why people care about what they're doing, then it's very easy to speak. But you know, I'm in many rooms in the industry when I'm not able to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, Trent. I believe it's powerful, isn't it? You know, and that's one of the reasons that I do coach, is being able to provide that space and know that it makes a difference, like you. So definitely, it's teamwork.
Yeah,
makes the dream, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you most proud of so far to date in your career and your life, perhaps? Not even just all about work.
That's a really good question. I think, like I mentioned, the BAFTA nomination I'm very proud of, because I know how hard me, Munya, and the team on that show worked. You know, YouTube were really supportive for some of our ideas and pushed back on things they weren't happy with, and we had to rethink new ideas and expectations. He's the company that we made it with, are really supportive of our big ideas, and you know, Munya is amazing. He's like, I think we all know he's one of our proudest talents in the UK right now. I think he is like, feels so fresh and new, and he inspires you. So he pushes you and you push him, and vice versa. So we had an amazing team that understood what the kind of message of the show was, which is to basically talk about race around Britain and all the different kind of ways that it amalgamates itself into society. So like that BAFTA nomination and was just like this cherry on the cake, because we all worked so hard, you know, to be in the edit and stuff. So that was by far one of the proudest things I've done. But I'd also add to that, on Rap Game this year, Series 6, now, I've worked on the show since Series 3, and I think the show, because of various different people's input, has become so much different to what I first worked on. It feels like we are giving opportunities to all different types of characters from all different parts of the UK. We're really pushing them. We're really finding some people that can actually really rap, but also great personalities for television. And there's so much hard work that goes into that. Like, I can't explain. And I think one of my proudest achievements of this series, where we actually managed to get our artists to perform at Leeds Festival, on one of the stages there, on the BBC stage, which I know probably sounds a lot. It definitely feels a lot easier to talk about than to actually the process of making it happen. I mean, the weeks and weeks and months of meetings to make that happen. But like being there at that moment, seeing those guys' faces on that stage performing, seeing how excited Crept Code and the Target were for them, how excited we were as a group of staff to be excited for them, how excited the BBC were. We had just achieved something great there. And it came from, honestly, just sheer hard work and determination and passion from the people on the team, every single person. I have an amazing team at Rap Game, like a really amazing team, and I'm really proud of them for doing that. And so I think that's up there as well as a massive moment.
See, that's another thing. And so again, props to you, because one thing I also remembered about you was it was important to you to spotlight other people, to champion your team and other people. So a true leader,
Yeah.
a great leader.
Well, I just think that you always need someone that's going to empower you. Like there's people that just do their job, maybe because that's what they want to do. They just want to do the 9 to 5, get in and get out. And there's people that are dying for more than just a paycheck. They just want an opportunity to maybe write something or learn and grow as like a person when it comes to like their work and their kind of talents in work and stuff. And I just really feel like it's important to empower people around you if they're passionate about what they want to do. And so and if I never had a team that was so talented and so passionate, none of these things happen. So like this is a mix of everybody's ideas, everybody's sort of like hard work, and that's why it's important. You know, there's no one person that makes this happen. It's everybody.
Humble leadership again. And it's true. So somebody asked a question, actually, Trent. So you just touched on, how you have certain people that come along and some people are here just to get paid. You've got other people that really want to get something and they really want to go somewhere. And they're the people they're the best to work with, right? The best to lead, certainly. So Jemima's asked a question, which is, as an exec producer, how would you describe your management style to get the best out of your team?
Oh, that's tough. I think I probably have an idea of what my management style is, and then there's the real version of what it is.
What would your people say it is?
My first thing. Yeah, I would like to think that people think I'm very fair. Like, I think that's important. Like, I try to hear people out, but like the truth is I try to be very normal as an exec. I remember being a runner when I first started and like having to ask the exec's permission if we can leave because it's hit 6 o'clock and we don't know if we can leave or not. And I just didn't like that. It doesn't make you feel comfortable. It doesn't make you feel it's just not a nice feeling. And I didn't ever want to be like that. I want to be an approachable exec. I want to be an exec where you see my happiness, you see my frustration, you see my anger at times, you see my elation, you see all those things. I don't want to be this pretend person. And I want people to think they can come up to me and tell me whatever they want to tell me, which I like to think people do because that happens. And sometimes at the most annoying times, but that happens. But that's the kind of environment I want to make. But more than anything, I think that, I don't know if this is a new school way of thinking. I think this is just how I would want to be managed. But like, I don't really hold people to start times, end times. You don't have to be in at 10 o'clock if we're supposed to start at 10 o'clock. Like for me, it's like, if you know how much work you have to do, you know how much kind of how to manage your own time. You're an adult at the end of the day. So if it means you come in a little bit later because you worked later before, or because I'm happy to give people that freedom and not feel like they're at this rigid place where they must be doing these things at the same time. But also, I want them to be human beings that are good people and have respect for each other. So like, they will want to be in at 10 o'clock because everybody else would be, and I don't want to let the team down. I much prefer that genuine, like honest approach to things than being this authoritarian type that scares people into feeling and thinking they should be a certain way. And I like to think that the people that I work with would say the same. I'd like to think so.
Your DM is going to be blowing up now. You got a job? Got any jobs? That sounds like a great place to do it.
Don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I'd rather they were blowing up than no one cared.
No, that's good. You touched on something else, Trent. Around, so often I work with people in the industry who are wanting to go up to be an exec, whether it's exec producer or development exec. And one of the concerns that they have, especially, again, people of color, one of the concerns that they've voiced is, I really want to go to this next level, but can I still be me and do that? I don't want to change who I am. What would you like? Could you speak to that?
100%. Like, we all know how to code switch. Like, I'm not going to say that I don't code switch. I'm in rooms where I can't just be the person you see now. But like, honestly, like, I'm so passionate about people being who they are and really being an authentic version of themselves at work. I don't care if that means you come into work with a do-rag on one day because you didn't do your hair. Like, so what? I'm not one of the people that are going to have an issue with that, because that's probably what we'll do. And sometimes, especially with people working at home now and doing stuff, it's very much that we're going to be inside their kind of private space. So like, you don't have to put a shirt on and tie to come to work and be something that you're not. Be the person that I would probably see on the street if I saw them on the weekend, and be proud of who you are. Like, I never wanted to change my accent. I never wanted to change anything about myself. And I support that. I think that's so important.
Thank you, Trent. Thank you. That's such useful insight. And so something else following on from that, because you talked about code switching, and we know what code switching is like. We know code switching. Where for you is the line between code switching because it serves you and code switching because you feel you can't be more of who you are? Where's the line for you? And how do you know when you come up against it?
I think it's an innate thing in us to know when we come up against it. And I think there isn't really a line for me, because if I know that I'm expected to be a different way, that headstrong version of myself makes I'm at 100% the version of myself even more. I'll drop my H's and drop my T's. And even more if I'm in a place like that. I don't know if that's just the combative side of me. So I don't really think there's a line. I don't really like to think that I ever really do it, you know. I don't think so. I don't think anybody should. I know, you know, yeah, I don't think there's any reason to. We all know, like, just because there's this really annoying sort of like stereotype of like, if we are maybe this version of ourselves outside of work, we might not have the right respect level or the professionalism to work. And I don't understand. I don't really see the correlation between those two things. It's a very old school traditional way of thinking. I can be very professional and still have an East End accent and dress a certain way. I've always believed that.
Yeah, and you're again walking, talking that congruence. You can do it, so it can be done. Here's an example.
Yeah, definitely, and I do think that's came from that's been something I've always been passionate about. But I've also met people that have supported that, and people that have very much understood. Like, I want to do a special mention. There's loads more I could mention, but one of the like kind of most significant parts of my career so far is when I had a meeting at ITV with Addie Rawcliffe, who's I don't know if she's still at ITV, but she is amazing. I had one meeting with her, one chat, where she looked at my CV and spoke about what I wanted to do, which I really appreciated. You know, I think in general, we should be helping each other out. It doesn't matter what kind of walk of life you're from. If you can find the opportunity to help someone, you should. And she helped me. She heard me out, and she said something to me that always resonates with me. She spoke about this thing that we have in Black culture. She's a Black woman. About this kind of way we've been brought up in our culture, that basically if we work hard, we will achieve something. So, you know, a lot of our parents when we're younger want you to be lawyers and doctors, and they want you to get A stars, and they believe if you do that, you'll be a doctor, you'll be the thing you want to be, you'll have an amazing career. And actually, usually that's the case, but not in the TV industry, not at all. Like, actually, if you want to get somewhere in the TV industry, you have to talk yourself up, you have to be proactive, you have to talk to people, message people, do things that we're probably not taught to do. We don't go around begging or asking, you know, we're going to just graft hard, we're going to get the achievements, and then we should be recognized. But that doesn't happen in television. And I bet there's other industries where that doesn't happen either. And you basically have to go out and then talk about the amazing things you've done. And that's something I've had to learn. And I started learning that after Addie spoke to me. And I tried to basically celebrate the things I've done and tell people what I've done. And I want to be better at doing that. So that was a big shout out to her, because I probably wouldn't be where I was without that bit of advice.
So the power of a mentor, and somebody like Ade, definitely. And what you just spoke to is so powerful, and it's so many of our experiences when we've got, you know, whether it's grandparents or our parents that came over to the UK, often from the Commonwealth, and they will say things like, number one, you got to work twice as hard as your white counterparts. Get your head down, stay humble. Don't trouble nobody, don't ask nobody nothing. That sort of advice, and they meant well, right? But like you say, in the TV industry, that leads to you're not going to get to where you want to be because you need to be visible, and you need to have a good network. You need to meet. That's such good advice. 3 big gems there. Yeah, definitely.
And that was a massive part for me, because you're so right. you surround yourself with good people that just, because there's some things that are everything's sort of objective, right? So like good is down to what the person is thinking and feeling, but like there's principles that are good. And if you know someone is polite, know someone considers your time, asks you how you're doing, just tiny things like that, they're good people to me. And I try to surround myself with those sort of people. And when you do this, when you're in this TV game, you meet people in loads of different jobs where you're like, I really like your energy, I like your vibe, you feel like a good person. And they're the people that you should always come back to and feed into and come together with. Not everyone's going to be your cup of tea. And there's nothing wrong with that.
So that's another point there, isn't it then? So it's about, one, finding your people, but two, there's something there about also self-trust. So you have to trust yourself not to go necessarily the taught way, but to trust yourself, as in the people that you're around, how you feel when you're around them, the energy that they're giving off, etc.
Yeah.
And choosing the
Yeah. And I think because I would say in my normal life, I'm not very good at that. I think I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, because that's the kind of way that I want to do things. I'll give you my trust and my love until you kind of lose that, which is quite a hard thing to do, because it means you end up getting hurt or getting annoyed or frustrated a lot of the time. But I think in the industry and in TV, I think that's actually a good approach, because then you just make sure you know, if we have the beauty of not having to work with those people again, or learning what we didn't like about that experience and about that, how that was run, and making sure we put ourselves in the right places going forward. So
that's really good advice. That's really, I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. What would you say, Trent? What have you learned about your value and your voice, especially as a black male in the industry?
I would say, and I think this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier. So I've learned a lot in the last year or so, or last 2 years. I have been so focused on trying to achieve what I want to achieve, and so like passionate about that. And especially as a black man, I want to achieve something in this industry where we don't have many people who are black at this level, or exec level, or any other, and there's very minimal people at that level. So I've been really focused at doing that, and probably too focused in a sense, because the start of last year I got really ill, actually, from kind of not looking after myself as in normal life and just in general, and I didn't tell people. I think this is what I've learned about my voice. For someone who's, I would think, is confident and quite like open, as you said, I probably didn't tell people exactly how I was feeling, because I was so driven to achieve. And I was saying to myself, so I wasn't feeling very well. My stomach felt a bit off, and I just would wake up not feeling myself, but I would be like, you know what, let me just finish this job. When I've done this job, when I finish in a few months, I'll go and doctors and find out what's going on. And that was my mindset, because I was so driven to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And it all nearly went very, very bad for me, because the start of last year, I basically ended up going to A&E because it got that bad, and found out that I had a load of issues. Basically, I'd had issues with a lot of my organs, because I had been suffering basically with loads of health problems, and that had been over a long, sustained amount of time that caused a lot of damage to, like, a lot of my body. And that changed a lot for me, because it made me realize that nothing, and it's so ironic, because I would have said to people before that they should put their health first, put their health, their mind health, their body health before anything else, but I wasn't doing it myself. And since that time, it's been a whole new approach. Everything is different now, because I have to live with this issue of trying to get myself better, my body better, my organs better, whilst trying to be driven and want to achieve the things I want to achieve. So I guess, that's what I've learned about my voice, is to use it more often. Like, I'm happy to use it most of the time, but like, I think I like to use my voice to kind of support things that are right, or support people when I feel like they're in the right. But just to have that genuine conversation with myself, talk to myself and say, I don't feel to you right now, and I need to make sure that someone knows that, might save you a lot,
Well, I'm glad that you did it when you did. Sounds like you went at just the right time, but I'm glad that you've been able to use your voice. Yeah, and you said for yourself, and then putting it out there like something's not right.
Yeah,
no, that's
and yeah.
That's good, Trent. I'm glad. And I think the other thing, so something that clients in the industry often say, they want to, that they need help. Like we all need help. You know, we all need help in different areas. But I see a lot of people in the industry don't feel like they can ask for help, whether it's, you know, whether it's to do with health related issues around work, which it happens all the time because life, or whether it's something else. But there's, and I'm really hearing this in your story, but there's power in asking for help. And people do usually want to help if we ask, if the question's asked of them.
Exactly. And I think I've had the pleasure of, like, the luckiness and pleasure of working at Naked, where, you know, a lot of these people are no longer at the company, but I was working with Tamara Howe, and I was working with Victoria Roy, or Vic Roy, and Fatima. These are like really strong, amazing women who were in really important positions, but they were all people that I could talk to about anything and any problem and issue that I had, and they would listen and they'd want to help. And it wasn't like the job stopped and then they stopped. You know, these are people that I would then talk to when I'm not working with them or when I'm in between contracts, and who are just very supportive, really good people. And that is key as well. And I think companies that have that need to be celebrated. And I don't think I'd work for a company if I felt like they didn't have those sort of people in, especially in the most important positions.
Yeah, I hear you, Trent. And they do exist. They are out there. There are opportunities out there still, and there are opportunities with really great companies.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And again, I think look for those characters, look for those people that feel like they have your best interests at heart, and they'll really support you. And even when I started on the rap game, there was a lot of people that were really good for me. Tom O'Brien, who's now the MD at Naked, and Cam Delaherta, who was the exec at the time. They really believed in me. So like, people that believe in you, people that will support you emotionally, people that are good people, that's who we need to aim to be working around and working with.
Good advice. So find your people and lean on your people. Yeah,
100%, because those people, because when you have those people to lean on, you then can bring other people in that lean on you. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you've got this amazing network of really strong people, talented, strong, good people around you, and you achieve amazing things.
So well said. You know, you're so positive. Your energy is positive. Your perspective is positive. Not always necessarily happy, I'm sure, but you've always seemed like a glass half full rather than glass half empty.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, not all the time, but most of the time, because, you know, I feel like that's the role I've taken in the industry. You know, I used to get calls on a monthly basis from another young black person, a young person you know, working class person that was just disillusioned and frustrated with working in the industry. And I was always the person that's like, you've done all this work, you've done so much, like you can't turn your back on it now. So I think that has made me feel like I need to be a lot more positive about the situation. And that's kind of, I really want to make this point as we're talking about being booked and busy. I'm not working at the moment. I finished a rap game a little while ago, and I've done a smaller project with Munya at the Roundhouse a few weeks ago. But I'm understanding the positives of not working at the moment, because in no other industry are you able to say I'm going to have a month or two off, or I'm going to, you know, I know we have bills to pay and things that we need to do, but that's sort of a positive, right? The fact that we can say, you know what, I'm going to spend some time with my loved ones. I'm going to go on a holiday. I'm going to do this project or this thing that I've been dying to do. And that's kind of what I'm leaning into. So positivity is massively key, especially when it comes to being booked, busy and working in this industry. And I feel like it's a cliche to just say be positive, but genuinely, if you try and look at the positive side of things when you can and where you can, you're gonna end up in a good place.
Yeah. It sounds like you've ended up in a good place, Trent. And I remember from when we were working together, I can see where you're at. I'm glad for you.
Definitely. Well, I learned a lot from that time that we spent together, and that's why I would say anyone who's on that Breakthrough Leaders program, really jump into it. The coaching side of it for me was the amazing part. It helped me through some really difficult moments at work, but then all of a sudden helped me with loads of things personally that I was dealing with, and just helped me to be in this place that I am right now. So yeah, man, you're lucky to be on that course if you're on that, and just really embrace it and jump into it.
Definitely, and that's a good plug for Breakthrough Leaders. It's a phenomenal program.
Yeah,
We're gonna 100%. In a minute We'll wrap up in a minute, Trent. I just wanted to have the opportunity because there was a question here, if you don't mind answering.
Of course.
So Jemima's asked, can you share something that seemed like failure at the time, but turned out to be the best thing ever that's taken you to where you are today? Unless the answer was saying no to the children in need opportunity.
It's a very good question. I didn't say no to the children in need. I actually worked on children in need. But it never felt like a failure. At the end of the day, we raised millions of pounds for kids around the world. So, but I can definitely talk about a failure. You know, like I said, my kind of like journey has been very different. I'd done a lot of stuff in television, and then I started working for Endemol Beyond, which was the digital arm and the first kind of like digital foray of stuff at Endemol, working with like the KSIs and some of the YouTubers that are massive right now, digital influencers. And there I met an incredible team. But it meant that I had this kind of digital side that I was exploring too. So after working there and working in a few other places and other things, I ended up working for a company. I'm not going to name them, but when I ended up working for a company, which was a digital kind of company, and because I didn't fit in, because I maybe didn't find those characters that I was talking about, these people that are reliable, emotional, support, it just didn't work. I didn't enjoy it. I think I picked the job for the wrong reasons. And what I learned from that failure, because I would say my experience at that company was a failure, was that it can really have a like you have to be very certain and sure about the jobs you take, because it had a massive effect on my confidence. Again, as a confident person, I couldn't believe it. I wasn't confident in shooting stuff. I was shooting a lot of stuff there on my own, which I'd done all my life, you know, getting up, filming something, shooting it, producing it. And I started to doubt if I was good at it because I wasn't enjoying my experience at the company. And when I left that company, I was probably the least confident I've ever been in my life. And I was really surprised that it had that much effect on me. And I had to rebuild myself and kind of go from there. So that was definitely a decision that was a failure. I would consider a failure. And yeah, but it never turned out to be good. So I don't think I've really answered the question. But the actual experience didn't turn out to be good. But I would say what I learned from it was good, which is, you know, you have to really be certain of the decisions you make the right decisions for the right things. Look for those good people. Look for those people that you know are genuinely good and caring around you, and then you're gonna fly. You're gonna do amazing things. But never take the decision for money. Never take a decision you're not sure for convenience. That these are some of the things that I find we all wrestle with in this industry. You know, the company's only a short journey from work to work. You know, it's like a 10-15 minute journey. I'd love that. Or the money's really good. But if you have a gut feeling, if you feel like the people around there are not the right people for you to work with, then listen to that gut feeling, because it is hard to come back from. And I think it's better to be real about that than to pretend that it was easy. I was definitely very affected by that experience. And it took a long time to come back to being confident enough to do what I'm doing now.
Thank you for your honesty with that, for that really honest share. And I can hear the importance of not necessarily looking for the external benefits or the external good things about an opportunity, but paying attention to your gut instinct, you were saying. And also something that helps people as well is moving from values, moving from what's important to them. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think your values are, I say, they're the things that make you unique, right? We all have different values, and sometimes we don't. A lot of our kind of beef comes from not agreeing with those things, not agreeing with each other's values. But your values are the things that if you stick to, you'll be happy. Like you're going to be happy with any decision you make based on your values. So don't change them for nobody. Like if you don't agree, if something's really, because everybody has things that mean more to them. You know, for me, I would say some of my core values are like how caring someone is, how loyal someone is. You know, quite personal things actually. That when it comes to work, it's maybe not good to mix those, but they're my values. They're things that are important to me. Like I want someone to give me the exact amount of time and effort that I give them, and you know, and things like that. So like if you stick to those principles and you hold people accountable to those principles, you will find your people and you'll find your journey and your direction and the good people that you need around you to help you thrive.
That's solid advice.
solid advice, a bit like a compass, moving from your values to find not only your people, but to guide yourself. Thank you, Trent.
Yeah.
I hope that helps, Mama. So you've had a lot of love in the comments since we've been online. You got your fans there, Trent.
I haven't even been looking at them. I'm just looking at them now. See, good people. That's what I would say. Good people around me that I've found the time to, you know, to hear this, and some great people there. Yeah, so I appreciate all the comments, definitely.
Yeah. No, thank you. So you've shared so much, Trent. I just want to you've shouted out people. You've talked about the Breakthrough Leaders Program, which is obviously how we began working together as coach and client. But what I do want to say as well to everybody that's watching this, if you hopefully you've been inspired by what Trent shared, or hopefully you see aspects of yourself in what Trent shared, and if you are looking for some support to navigate the TV industry, especially as a freelancer or especially as a person of color, then I'm here to support. So I've created a program called the TV Career Boost Accelerator, and it's for people who are just like Trent, freelancers who want that one-to-one guidance and support. So if you're interested to know more, DM me directly on here, or go to tamarwilkinson.com for more information. But Trent, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you for today. You've been my inaugural person. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for you.
No, thanks so much for having me. And I feel like I spoke a lot. I've always said that to you every time we've had our coaching sessions. I can go on forever. So like, if I have, you know, I'm really appreciate you having a conversation. But no, I love it, and I'll happily do others. So if you need to go around the clock and find another person, or someone can't do 1 week, call me up. I'm here.
Well, here's a question. So what I would like to know from anyone watching this, who should I be speaking to? Who do you know has got some gems, or who do you know needs to be heard? Whose story needs to be told? But thank you. Thank you again, Trent. And thank you everyone for your comments, for your engagements. We'll catch you soon. Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much. See ya. Bye-bye.